What it do, E-World, crisscrossing wires, back with another video. And this video is actually another, well, not another, but a second part to a video I've made before. See this right here? Soldering cells versus welding. Alright, so this is a topic I've talked about before, and the reason why I need to talk about it again, damn, I forgot to turn this down. Well, let me show you. Okay, so y'all know I'm supposed to be working on my own pack, and look, I ain't started yet. Reason why is why I'm making this video. Okay, now I said a while back, when it comes to my own pack, using my experience and my knowledge of electronics, and let me put this out there first of all right, now when it comes to e-bikes, no, I don't have a long time in this field. Actually, I started messing with e-bikes about 4 years ago. Okay, so yeah, I may act like I've been doing this for a long time, but actually I haven't. I'm still very much a rookie in the e-bike world. There are plenty of guys with far more experience than me in this field, but I'm going to say this: they may be knowledgeable or more knowledgeable than me when it comes to, you know, like equipment, history, and bikes in general. But when it comes to electronics and power applications, I've been doing this all my life. All right, now if you don't know, I'm 50, well, I'm going on 54. I'll be 54 this year. I've been dibbling and dabbling with electronics since I was like 8 or 9 years old. All right, I started off way back then. My grandfather got me hooked on CB radios. This was in the late 70s, the early 80s. And I got fascinated and caught up with that. And I don't mean like the truck driver, breaker 19. Hold on, breaker 19 and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about base stations, you know, big CB station in your house, like a ham shack. I did the ham radio thing too. Big antenna on a roof that you turn with a rotor, turns around in directions. Man, we talk skip all around the world, running massive illegal power, kind of like this e-bike stuff, but RF power. So man, in watts. When it comes to CB, the FCC limits CB radios to 4 watts. So at one time I had a Suburban with 8 alternators in the AC box, 3CX 3000 radio station tube. I was running like 30-40,000 watts radio station power, but that's a whole nother ball game. But just trying to give you some history in power applications. Not only that, in the 90s I also had a few car stereo shops. I was in the car audio, so I had actually I had like 2 shops of my own, and I actually worked for a shop in DC in the 90s for a little while. Then I started my own. But needless to say, that's 12 volt, but power applications as far as running high power alternators and putting several 12 volt batteries in parallel to make large battery banks for car stereo, even for CB radio. All right, so when it comes to power, I know how to run power as far as wiring, you know, all that kind of stuff. So that kind of gave me a leg up when I started in the e-bikes. Not only that, man, I've done all the hobbies that's similar to this: RC cars, drones, all that kind of stuff that gets you here to e-bikes. And that's how I'm here. Anyway, not only that, I used to, let me say this, as far as my formal education, I went to school for electronics. I had 3 years in high school. Then I went to trade school. Back then it was called RETS, Radio Electronic Television School. Now it's called Test College. But I went to that for 2 years. I got a degree in electronic engineering and electronic technologies. I worked for a couple of oh, my glasses are dead. But anyway, the only job that I really focused on in this field, and because I've been an entrepreneur for most of my life, but I did work at the casino for a little while because I like the casino, and you know, slot machines and all that was right up my alley. I kind of wanted to learn about the slot machines, how they work, and I did that. So I became a slot performance technician. Then I was elevated to a supervisor. Now, I don't want to just, I didn't want to go through all that, but I just wanted to give you some background as to why, when it comes to electrical, although, again, not a whole lot of experience in the e-bike industry, but electronics, I know what the hell I'm talking about, okay? So now I'm talking about making my own pack. And in that video I just showed you back there, I stated a long time ago, when I'm doing my own pack, even like my first pack and my second pack, I didn't weld my cells, well, copper to my cells. I soldered them. I will still say, and I'll challenge anybody to an argument or debate on this topic, when it comes to welding versus soldering these batteries, soldering is always a better connection. And I'm going to tell you why. Now, when you spot weld, you're just putting little tack welds. They're little pinpoint precision welds that that's the only physical connection that bonds the copper to the cell. Now, when you first make a pack, and like my copper, I go over it with steel wool and everything to make sure, you know, the copper is clean, that it's transferring, you know, current and electricity best it can. You know, shine it up, polish it up, and strip all the oxidation off of it. Basically, when you put copper on top of the cell, just the physical connection alone, the copper connecting to that cell, it's going to transfer electricity. Okay, though it's two metals that conduct electricity, and all they got to do basically is touch. Now, when you weld them, the weld keeps it in place. Okay, same thing with soldering. When you solder it, it's going to keep the copper connected to the cell. However, the thing is, copper, the only issue with copper, it's one of the best conductors of electricity. It oxidizes and you know, it oxidizes and corrodes. Okay, if you ever looked at any old copper, look at some copper gutters or anything old, it turns green. Air and water will corrupt the integrity of the surface of the copper. All right, like I said, it will become corroded, and at that point, when it's corroded, it's a film built up on the copper. It's not going to transfer that electricity as it did when it was all shiny and clean. Okay, now I'm saying that because when you weld these batteries, initially, probably for the first year or two, they're great. That copper is doing what it needs to do. It's nice and clean and shiny, like this, and it's going to transfer and conduct electricity really well. But like I said, when it starts to oxidize and corrode, at that point, it's building up a ton of resistance. It's no longer going to transfer that electricity as it did when it was all nice and clean. Okay, now remember, I said when you tack weld those pinpoint tacks, that is the only mechanical connection there is. So if this copper starts to oxidize, electricity will still flow through those contacts where the weld is, because you know, like I said, that's a mechanical connection. But where the copper is just laid on top of the cell, once that oxidizes under there, yeah, man, you done built up a ton of resistance, and it is no longer going to let that current flow like it did when it was brand new. All right, now you can try to keep it from oxidizing by putting it, you would basically need to put it in a vacuum type seal, and those shrink wraps don't provide that. So at some point, water ingress is going to be a problem, and that's the biggest problem. So water gets inside the pack, and you know, all that is going to cause problems. Now, reason why I know this happens for sure, and it happens a lot, even with the nickel or the fake nickel, and that's another thing. When it comes to those cheap ass batteries, the nickel strips they use, some of them aren't even nickel. Some of them are nickel plated over stainless steel. And like I said, that water and air over time, they start to rust and corrode. All you got to do, reason why I know it happens for a fact, when I first started messing with e-bikes, my first battery was, the first little pack I made was a whole bunch of packs tied together, donated from some bird scooters, okay? So, yeah, I had a whole bunch of bird scooters, and took them apart and got the packs out. Of course, I purchased these, obviously. But, yeah, if you ever harvested cells for whatever reason from old scooters and stuff like that, then you know, when you open up them packs, man, even though they were in a metal compartment or a plastic cabinet, whatever, and shrink wrap and paper and all that, man, you'll see that them shits look terrible inside. All right, and it's not only, it's not like that's just from rain and stuff and the scooter being in the elements. You cannot stop water ingress, because a lot of times that water is from condensation. So there's nothing you can do about it. And if you don't believe me, if you've ever left your bike outside in the yard on a cool night when the temperature drops, you know, 30, 40 degrees, then it warms up in the daytime, and you go out there and look at your bike will have like moisture on it. Looks like dew. The same thing is happening inside of that battery. Just because it's got, metal components in it, and the temperature, it was cool at night. As soon as those cells warm up, condensation is going to occur, even inside a sealed pack. It's like it sweats, going from cold to hot, or from hot to cold. It happens, and there's nothing you can do about it other than keep your bike in a temperature controlled environment. Now, if you got a heated garage or something, or you bring your bike in a house, maybe you can slow down that process. But if you have to leave your bike outside, or if you have a large motorcycle style EV or whatever, you can't bring that in the house all the time, and you honestly shouldn't be charging in the house all the time. I know a lot of people do. And look, one tip when it comes to charging your bike: everyone knows you're not supposed to charge your bike overnight unattended, but people do it. They do it because sometimes a lot of people have little small chargers, 2 amp, 5 amp chargers, big old 40 amp hour, 60 amp hour packs, and it takes hours to charge. Okay, so everybody isn't fortunate enough to just sit there and while their bike's charging, or be able to charge in the daytime. A lot of people still will charge overnight. Okay, so we're talking about the longevity of your pack. Now, there's several things you can do, like I said, to prolong that. Like I said, temperature controlled environment, keeping your bike out of the rain. Man, I've seen some idiots riding their bikes in water and all that, thinking that these shits are IP67 100%. Man, let me tell you, that's the worst thing you can do, is ride an electric bike in water. Yes, it may not die immediately, but trust and believe me, those people are going to have problems. A hot motor and some water is going to suck that water through those wires like a straw. That water is getting inside your battery and your motor. But that's not what I'm talking about here today. I'm just telling you it's going to happen. All right. Now, back to the reason why I'm talking about this whole copper versus welding thing is people always assume that because most manufacturers are welding packs, that is the best way. It is not. The only thing it's best at is productivity. Welding, you can weld a pack much faster than you can solder it. Okay? Soldering requires precision, human beings to do that. When it comes to welding, you can have machinery set up to do welds. All right. So these companies producing thousands of batteries a month, hundreds and packs a day, all they care about is the bottom line, how many packs they can make in a certain amount of time for as cheap as possible. All right. That is why most manufacturers weld packs. It's all about that almighty dollar. Is that the best means in terms of performance and longevity? No, it's not. That's a reason why some companies like EBMX, I was complaining about their batteries being potted, but I mean, it's understandable. Potting can prolong what I said, and they're using pouch cells anyway, so they aren't tack welded. But I'm just saying, potting can prolong some of that. They just shouldn't pot the damn BMS, because that needs to be serviced every now and again. Pot the damn cells and everything. Don't pot the BMS. All right. Now, like I said, you cannot stop the water if it's your bike is going from hot to cold environments. There's nothing you can do about condensation. So although I'm going on and on, bottom line is those welded packs 5 or 6 years down the road, if you open them up, they're not going to be as good as they were when you first got them. Which is why I'm talking about soldering. When you solder cells, you're heating up molten metal that is going to cover this area and cover the entire connection. It's sealing and conducting electricity all at the same time. So if there's a layer of solder over the cell and over the copper, you don't have to worry about oxidation inside of that connection. Even if it occurs on the outside of it, doesn't matter. Internally, that connection is fine. It can't be corrupted. Soldering is the best connection you can make. I guarantee it. Now, so many of those old school DIY guys will always say, you can't solder cells because if you heat them up, you're going to damage the cell. Well, let me tell you something. Do you know how hot cells get when they're making power internally? If you were ever able to put your hand on your cells after you've been running and ripping on your e-bike, you will find that the temperature of these cells is way hotter internally than a soldering iron on the surface of the cell can ever get it. Now, nobody is going to sit here and leave a soldering iron on top of the cell long enough that it can make it hotter than the cell itself. And you know, if it takes you that long to solder, you shouldn't be soldering anyway. Now, I guarantee you, I solder fast enough, or anybody that solders with the right gun, if you got the right iron, you shouldn't be trying to solder cells in copper with no little teeny ass soldering iron. But you got a big iron like this, man, it takes a second to melt some solder on the top of that cell. It takes another second to solder the copper to the cell. Bam, that's it. Little heat on the surface. It never reaches the inner core of this cell. Trust me, it does not. I've checked it with a thermal gun. Not only that, I've seen other videos where even with the thermal cameras showing where the cells is heat, it's just on the surface. That, like I said, man, you pull 100 amps through this cell is going to be super hot. Super hot. They get hot. So does heat shorten cell life? Yeah, it does, but just, you know, from naturally running the pack is going to shorten. So the point is, people think because manufacturers weld that welding is the best way. It's not. It's the most productive way, and that's all companies care about, is that almighty dollar. They don't care about getting the best performance. They want to make as many batteries as possible, as many batteries per hour, as many batteries per week, as many batteries per month, for as cheap as possible. Soldering, you have to pay human beings to solder, okay? When welding, you can program some robots in the assembly line, and they can do all those welds, and they can make a ton of money not having to pay people and making a ton of batteries. All right. Now, all that being said, I need to make this pack quick, fast, in a hurry, where I would really want to solder this pack. I'm not going to be able to. if I want to have this thing up and running. So normally I would definitely want 2 layers of copper down, and I would really want full surface area, but I'm not going to be able to do that quickly, so I'm gonna do it as fast as possible. I'm gonna make these straight bus bars like this, and we're gonna put them down, and we'll come back over the winter. I'm gonna run it like this for this season, and over the winter I'm gonna go back in this thing, and I'm gonna put another layer over top of that, full surface, because that's the way I like it. The more material mass, the more current that can flow. You know, is one enough to allow current flow? Yes, it is. Can you get maximum current flow? No, you can't. So that is why I will come back and put another layer over the winter, and probably solder it. So that's the it took me all that time to say, you know, for my own reasons why I prefer soldering. That is the way I would do my pack, because I want the best, and I want it to last a long time, longevity. All right, so I'm sorry I rambled on for I don't know how many minutes when it wasn't quite necessary. You can go back and look at that other video if I missed anything, which I probably did. Understand, on this channel I don't make no scripts. I talk off the top of my head, which is why I probably said the same thing 20 times. But for some of you guys, I need to say it 20 times, because you either don't hear the point, you miss the point, or I gotta beat it into you. Now I guarantee you there's gonna be a couple comments where people are gonna be debating me on that. Nah, welding is the best, blah blah, it ain't no different. Well, okay, you do it how you do it. All right. Me myself, I know what I'm talking about, and I'm gonna solder my own shit at the end of the day. All right, y'all, deuces, we out. Peace.